Everyone, please tell me your name, and please tell me one excuse that someone has recently told you about for anything, or maybe that you've given to like skip out on something or do whatever. And I'll go first. My name is Natabar. Hi everyone, and I always use the excuse that I'm too busy.
I'm Thomas, and recently I heard the excuse, if I do that, I'll puke.
Wait, say it again?
If I do that, I'll puke.
If I do that, I'll puke. Okay. And we'll try to go clockwise. So,
Christina, recently someone told me that they're sick, so they couldn't do something.
okay.
Oh, Shayla, the excuse I use is I'm tired.
My name is Todd. The excuse I hear often is time management.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Harsh, and the excuse I hear often is too busy. Meanwhile, I'm sleeping or the other person sleeping.
Rodrigo, nice meeting you all. Normally I don't do like excuse, you know.
That's good.
Yeah, it's not my thing. Yeah. If I don't want to do something, I'll just say. I'm in a mood.
Okay, very good, Rodrigo.
I'm Jocelyn, and I kind of agree with Rodrigo. I also do not give people excuses.
Okay, I like it.
I'm Chimin. My excuse is I'll get up in like an hour, but end up being 2-3 hours.
So it's like an excuse to yourself almost.
Yeah.
And
I'm Alex. Hi everyone. My excuse is like I'm not in the vibe.
not vibing, yeah.
I'm Sean. I think the excuse I've heard a lot is I'm past my bedtime.
I use that excuse. Well, it's not an excuse. I genuinely mean it, but yeah. I mean, there could be valid excuses and invalid excuses. But yeah, in the back.
Hi, I'm Alan. I have trouble following my plans and rules. I say I'll follow the plan and I don't.
Okay. Yes.
Kushan, one excuse I use is that I'm tired.
Okay. Yes.
Lee, yeah, I guess I would say my go-to excuse would be I'm not feeling well. Say I'm not feeling comfortable, or I'm feeling nervous or anxious about something that will cause me to be not feel well. So sometimes I have.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly.
Kind of,
I have to like when I get it, like usually what I try to do is just push myself out of it, and then I end up being okay. But.
Okay. Yes, in the back.
My name is Lino, and an excuse that I use is that the work will still be there tomorrow.
Okay. Yes?
I'm Ladis. The excuse I use that I'm sick, I used that last week actually.
What, were you actually sick?
No, I was at the concert.
You were sick of missing the concert.
I'm Erin. I think an excuse comes from lack of presence.
Okay. Yeah.
Me, I'm Claudia. The excuse I've been using this week for canceling a couple of things is because I had a cold, but I didn't cancel everything.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, my name is Cuffy. Multiple people want me to go to school. I am going to go to school. I actually study a lot. I like studying, but I'm not trying to overload my brain. But my excuse is it's not time yet.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Shoria, and my excuse is I'm having a headache.
Chandra, and my favorite one is my kids. This one they say is easier said than done.
Okay, well, nice to meet. Oh, one last.
I'm Jonathan.
But not the least.
An excuse that I have is that I'm sore too much, or I like pull something and I can't move.
Oh, okay. Jonathan's a jiu-jitsu teacher, so maybe that's a valid excuse sometimes. I had my first lesson with him, and afterwards, like my knee was kind of sore, and like I pulled something, and it was like hurting for like a whole week. But so
No, anyway.
Oh.
I'm Jordan, and the most recent excuse I got was I was flying home with Spirit Airlines on Friday, and they said the weather was bad in New York, but it wasn't bad. So I don't know what the reason was, but something.
Spirit Airlines, the only airlines that forces you to go to the spiritual platform to be able to tolerate the craziness.
What's the definition of excuse?
That's our definition.
I'm not sure what that.
I mean,
I think I know it. It's an explanation that you think you need forgiveness for.
What?
An explanation that you think requires forgiveness.
so
So
Google.
you're asking someone to excuse me. This is improper.
It's
This
a
is
justification.
Without justification.
Well, it could be proper justification.
That's an explanation.
Because there's like a valid excuse, right?
No, that's an explanation.
Okay, you're a lawyer, I guess you
You're a monk.
know the terms more exactly. So, there's a beautiful story. I want to talk about excuses that we may give ourselves in spiritual life. And there's a beautiful story told by Srila Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita. This is the Bhagavad Gita. And in there, it was a story about a bird who laid her eggs near the ocean. And the waves came and swept the eggs away and upset the bird. And so she became very determined, and she demanded, "Ocean, give me my eggs back." And of course, the ocean didn't reply. And so the sparrow, the bird, made a decision. She said, "I'm going to dry up the ocean." And she picked up one droplet and dropped it in the sand. Picked up one droplet and flew and dropped it away. And another and another. And everyone who watched her was laughing, right? It's a ridiculous proposition. But she's so determined. I don't care if it takes my whole lifetime, if it takes multiple lifetimes. I'm going to empty this ocean. And eventually, word spread through the universe. And Garuda heard about the determination of this young bird. And Garuda is the great eagle carrier of Lord Vishnu, extremely powerful. And so he came and supported the sparrow, and he went to the ocean, and he told the ocean, "Return these eggs, or else I'll get involved." And then so now suddenly the ocean, who was previously inanimate, showed its personality, genuinely frightened by Garuda, and returned the eggs at once. And so this story is given in the 6th chapter, where determination is very important. And although the sparrow may have had so many excuses to not try to do what she was doing, everyone was laughing at her, it seemed impossible, so many excuses, but with full sincerity, with everything that she had as a little bird, that sincerity brought the complete divine blessings to help her achieve her success in a way that she could have never imagined. And so, usually the biggest thing standing between us is not necessarily the ocean, but it's all the little excuses that we give to ourselves. And there's a very wise saying, if you become good at excuses, you won't become good at anything else. So today, we're talking from the Bhagavad Gita. It's extraordinary. How many people have heard of the Bhagavad Gita? How many people have read a little bit, one chapter or like one verse of the Bhagavad Gita? How many people have read the whole Bhagavad Gita? Okay, so we're a little bit knowledgeable about it. And the Bhagavad Gita, it reveals the most extraordinary, exciting journey that we could take. An adventure to the spiritual perfection where one can come face to face with God. And it talks about the road less traveled, but the one that can really lead to our inner fulfillment. And there's 18 chapters, and in each of these 18 chapters, Krishna, who is the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita, he systematically dismantles every kind of argument that one may use to justify why we cannot take up spiritual life. And he doesn't just tell Arjuna, who is the hearer of the Gita, he doesn't just tell him what to do, but he explains why and how. And thus, throughout, by the end of the 18 chapters, instills a kind of inspiration to Arjuna. So, I'm not going to go through every single 18 chapters, and there's 700 verses, and in there you could find probably, with enough meditation and study, hundreds of different excuses. But we're going to go through 5 excuses today, and see how Krishna dismantles them and how we can integrate them into our life. Because I'm sure we all want to increase our commitment to spiritual life. So the first excuse is already mentioned by a few people when we were going through just general excuses that people have. I don't have time. Or it's not the right time. I guess in chapter 1, Krishna addresses this. You may well be seeing me, and like I said, oh, you're a lawyer, and he said, you're a monk. And so someone may ask, well, so are you married? No, I'm not married. Do you have a job? I mean, I work at the temple, but not really not like a job like, y'all probably have or trying to get. Do you have, yeah, I don't know, the economy is bad. You have a household, you have rent to pay, you got bills to pay, you got kids to feed? I mean, not really. I live at the temple. So then you could, Natabar, it's easy for you to say you have all the time in the world. You said no to everything so that you can say yes to spiritual life. But me, I've got all these things, and how can I do it? Fair enough. And I did become a monk, so I'd have more time to spend on these type of things. But in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, what do we have? We have Arjuna. Was Arjuna married? Yeah, you guys probably don't know this, but yes, he was married. He had so many worldly responsibilities. He had children. He was running his household. He had so many of life's complexities that we all have. And yet, he prioritized his spiritual life. Actually, the Gita starts, there's 640 million soldiers assembled to fight each other. And they're just about to start the fight. And instead of starting, Arjuna is asking Krishna, send me to the middle of the battlefield. I want to see everyone who's about to fight. And I want to contemplate on this for a second. And so, Arjuna took time. In our lives, we have to take time. We have to make time. If we don't make time, then time will make us. If we don't take time, then time will take us. And it's kind of like you always have, for anything, there's always something, if something's very important, you just take the time to do it. Like, we all took a shower this morning. I mean, maybe most of us. We all brushed our teeth. Like, if you were about to drive to, say, where's a place you guys like to go sometimes? Like upstate, right? But if you're going to have to take time to get some gas in your car. Or you said you're going to go to school, Coffee, right?
Yeah.
And who's here in school? We got students in here? Some students? Okay, so it's exam time. But what if you walked into the exam but never took the time to go to the class or study at all? It's like, it doesn't make any sense. Or if you're, getting a frozen pizza and you just start eating. You never took the time to actually put it in the oven. Yeah, so exactly. So there's some things that are just essential that you have to make time for them, and it's simply not an option to not make time for it. And so understanding who we are, why we're here, the spiritual dimension to life, that's something that we really need to make time for it. And Arjuna, before he's one of the most important people on this whole battlefield. And yet he still takes time, and that's when the whole Bhagavad Gita is spoken in this very tense situation. So he made the time. And so we should make the time also. And I'm very thankful. This is a very packed class. I mean, there's maybe room for a few others. If we squeeze in, we could maybe double it. But there's a lot of people, and thank you very much for taking the time on your Sunday to come here. So then there's some other excuses that people may give. Another one is sometimes people say, you're going. We just did this meditation, and I do this meditation all the time, every day. We do it outside in the subways, in the parks. That's where many of y'all may have met us. Or if you come to the temple here, we're doing kirtan meditation a lot here. And so, yeah, Natabar, you're doing that meditation, and that's pretty nice. But, I'd rather use my time to practically help the world. What are you doing that's practically helping the world? That's not, practical. There's poverty and injustice and the war in Iran and the environmental collapse and, Donald Trump and Joe Biden and whoever else is going to be the next one. And oh my God, and what can spirituality, really do? What can spiritual life really do to help all of that? And so this may be a doubt or an excuse that someone may have that, I'd prefer to practically help the world. And so Krishna addresses that in the 5th chapter. Find the... And all these... If we look at all these different problems, from one perspective, we can see that a lot of them can come from a lack of spiritual vision. So, on one hand, if you have material vision, you're going to exploit. Or if you have spiritual vision, you will nurture. On one hand, if you have material vision, you're going to hoard and try to keep everything. If you have spiritual vision, then you're going to try to be a giver. You're going to be a sharer. And the difference is not really our circumstance or our education, it's our consciousness. So such things like the war, especially now it seems like another war just started. The spiritual consciousness of every individual in the country can drastically affect and change the course of history, the course of reality. If everyone is a very spiritual person, a very peaceful person, a very tolerant person, a very spiritual person that doesn't hold on to things, like materialism, I and mine, and yet sees everything belonging to God, we're just caretakers. They genuinely see the soul in one another. Then, like Yudhisthira, he was known as Ajata Shatru, one whose enemy was never born. So then no one can really be the enemy of such a person. And so if we actually raise people to the spiritual vision, then we get above this my group versus your group, and we get this equal vision. Krishna describes a spiritual person. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmin, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. So in other words, they're seeing even the animals on the same spiritual platform, consciousness. We're all connected because we're all consciousness, and we all come from the same conscious source. And so when we develop that through spiritual knowledge, then we become spiritualized, and with this spiritual vision, we can really, that's the root problem of many things in this world. And so that's like the real solution. Like in India, like sometimes, like I think Albert Einstein said, you can't solve the problem with the same consciousness that created it. So in India, they had a cobra problem. We don't really have a cobra problem here, but venomous snakes. So the Indian government came up with an idea. Let's make a bounty for every snake, cobra that you bring. We're going to give you, whatever, 100 rupees or something like that. And so, of course, it's India, and then people set up a scam where they started breeding cobras to get the bounty. And then after a couple of years, the government was getting confused and how it was not working. And then they noticed, so they said, okay, forget this. These guys are cheating. Let's cut off the bounty. So then what happened when they cut off the bounty? Now they're cheap, or their cobras, which are making a lot of money, now are completely worthless. They just let them into the wild. So the government's so-called solution ended up just ruining the whole situation. And so this is just an example of how, artificial solutions which fail to cut at the root of the problem will often actually aggravate the problem and make it worse.
There was an ad about over 100 years ago about the horse pollution problem, and they had the automobile as the solution. This horse pollution that's in the road, and so.
Well, it used to be, yeah, if you can imagine, it used to be bad. Horse poop, just in gigantic, like we when everyone gets mad when it just snowed, right, and the plow comes through and pushes everything. Imagine that was like horse manure.
So they solved it. They got the car. Yeah.
Solved it with car and gas stations, and now we have to go to war with Venezuela and Iran just to keep gas. Yeah, I mean, and so actually spreading spiritual knowledge and doing spiritual exercises and getting our spiritual vision is actually very practical. So this is one excuse that Krishna deals with. Another excuse, people may say, oh yeah, yes, Gofi,
So
something.
I heard you say spiritual exercises, and the story that you were talking about prior to that talks about greed. With the cobras, people wanted a bounty. So what are spiritual exercises that we can do to get rid of greed?
That's a great question.
I could wait until the end if you like.
Well, I like dialoguing with everyone, riffing off everyone. It's nice. I'm glad you're thinking about that. So, if we look at the root cause of greed, it stems from an I, me, mine kind of consciousness, where this is my reality, this is my thing, and it creates a demarcation. It's not your thing, it's my thing. And a lot of the times people who become the most greedy, you'll find maybe they have some trauma that previously they were in some very destitute situation. A lot of very wealthy people also have this, where they were from rags to riches story. They were very poor, and that gave them a certain bad feeling that said, okay, I'm never going to be poor again. And so therefore their whole identity is built around trying to do this, and they become very passionate. It gives them a lot of energy. And so greed is also, I want to have more than, they keeping up with the next door, with the Joneses. We always, if we think it's I and mine, then I and mine has to be better than theirs. And so our main spiritual exercise, hopefully it doesn't become hackneyed, but our main spiritual exercise is mantra meditation. But for us, so when we're chanting, this is the names of God. We're chanting God. Actually, what I am, I'm not like, I may be whatever I am, but deep, deep, deep down, at the deepest level, I'm actually your part and parcel. I'm actually your servant. And so therefore everything that I have is meant for serving you. And when we have that consciousness, then we can kind of see, like it says in one of the Vedas, Ishavashyam idam sarvam yat kinchanam jagatjam jagat, that Isha, the controller, God, he's given everyone their allotment. And if you try to take more than your allotment and you don't recognize who it belongs to, then that's greed, and that's going to actually end up coming and hurting you. Anything we do that's out of balance with reality, it's like a rubber band. Eventually, we're going to stop being able to hold it, and then it's going to snap back. And so, we should try to always remember God and never forget God, never forget Krishna. That's our main name for God, and we could go through a whole lecture of why that is, but that's maybe for next week. And if we never forget God, then we can never forget the fact that we're God's servants and that everything is actually God's, and He's just giving us exactly what we need to survive. And whatever we have extra, that's what God gave to us to help others. So, or to build something for Him.
So being mindful of our fair share, like making sure that we accept our fair share, and if we receive abundance, then we're able to have that spiritual mindset of helping others.
Yeah, thankful for God blessing us, and how can we use this to praise Him, basically. And so that's the conquering of all bad qualities boils down to the simple point of having your consciousness connected back with God. And the root of all kind of bad qualities is having our consciousness disconnected from God, and in other words, thinking that we're directly the topmost God, that we're the one and all. So these are the two paths. And so speaking of that, some excused people might say, so you're talking a lot about God, Natabar, but I've never experienced God. How can you talk about God like that? I've never seen Him. Have you seen Him? And that's definitely a valid argument, which Krishna in chapter 10, practically the whole chapter, that's chapter 11, he's talking about, here it is. And there he doesn't say, oh, just keep searching and you'll find me. One day, just wait till you'll die, and then when you die, you'll figure it all out. But Krishna says, I'm fully available to anyone who wants to perceive me, who wants to perceive my presence right now, today, right here. Then he goes, if you have the Gita, it's between 17 and 42 in chapter 10. And he's kind of giving Arjuna a guided tour of his presence in the world. And so, Krishna says, I am the taste in water. So does a day go by when we don't drink water? When we're drinking water, we can actually remember Krishna. He says, I'm the light and the sun. Of secret things, I am silence. Or I'm the ability in man when we see someone very extraordinarily talented. He says, among all sciences, I'm the spiritual science of the self, the knowledge which leads to liberation. And so he kind of shows Arjuna how in everything, we can utilize everything to remember God and see God's presence, and that God is not hiding, that He's directly there. Krishna mentions in the 10th chapter that how everything, just like I have this necklace, and some people may have like a pearl necklace. He says, just like in a pearl necklace, when the pearls are strung, you just see the pearls, but you don't see the thread. But the thread gives the necklace its form, yet is completely invisible to the eye. And in the best managers, the textbooks say that when they create such good systems that you don't even know they're there, things just work. So Krishna has manifested this entire cosmos that we can't even see him running things. It's not really a disqualification, but actually it's a credit that to extraordinary competence. And Krishna says, whatever you see as a beautiful or glorious or powerful thing in this universe, that's actually just a spark of my splendor. And so everything actually can connect us with God. If we're drinking water, we can think, where did this water come from? How am I experiencing the taste of this water? If you break it down in modern scientific terms, it's like just so many molecules that are hitting in so many other molecules, and there's different electric fields and quantum mechanics happening. But how does the actual qualia and the taste arise of that delicious taste? I mean, especially when we're very thirsty, water is very good. And so God's empowering that. And so Krishna is talking about how we can actually experience God in our day-to-day life. Some would say, okay, well, I drink water and I experience silence sometimes, and I see very many splendorous things. Okay, that's the spark of God's splendor. But I don't really like following organized religion. I don't want to follow any kind of organized religion. Which actually is good news that if any of you have this kind of feeling, because as the Hare Krishnas, we're one of the most disorganized religions. But anyways, in seriousness, there's definitely the potential for pure spirituality to be sidelined in kind of the sticky matrix of organized religion that, some people may, I'm this religion, therefore I'm better than everyone else. Who's ever met someone that's like that? Or that you have to follow all these different rules and there's no individual expression. Who's ever felt like that? Who's ever felt like, oh, this is the doctrine, this is the dogma, and you have to believe it, and over kind of character and all basic things, or appearance versus authenticity. I'm dressed like a monk, but who knows? And so, actually, many people see this. I'll give a story from my father. So when he was 16, sadly, his mother passed away from cancer. And so he went to the church and they asked, well, now that she's gone, who will take care of the bake sale? So how would that make you feel if that was your mom and you came here and we said, well, who's going to help pay for the Bhagavad Gita's? If you're not giving your donation, your mom's gone. You got that would, yeah, exactly. It's like you say you're religious and spiritual, yet you treat someone like garbage, more or less. You're just helping us get money. Yeah, that's so. What happened to him? He doesn't practice religion at all, and that it's actually maybe not honorable, but it's completely honest and it makes sense, And so, Krishna in chapter 9, he also addresses following organized religion, and he fully endorses heartfelt spirituality. He says, if you offer me with love, a leaf, a fruit, a flower, some water, I accept that love. He wants that love. And that's the whole point of our spiritual practice, is to cultivate that love, which every individual has. But to awaken that, there needs to be some sort of systematic practice. And spirituality is undoubtedly, it's an affair of our heart, but the heart needs conditions to be able to open. Like, for example, if someone wants to express their heart through music, but they never learn the notes or the keys, how much can they really truly express? And if someone wants to express through writing, but they never learn grammar, they never learn spelling, how much can they really express? So if you want to express your heart through spirituality, but you never engage in a spiritual practice, it's going to be on a lower level. It won't. Well, it not impossible. Of course, there's people that seemingly savants from young ages, or playing the piano from nowhere. But for most of us, we need the structure, and this creates the condition for the heart to be able to open. And so, our individual spiritual lives are like a boat, and some sort of organized institution is like a river. And if we ride that water and interact appropriately without getting caught on the sides or messing with our boat, then it'll carry us to the ocean. It'll carry us to our destination. But if we got a hole in our boat and drown all the way down, then what are we going to do? So the institution is not really the essence, but in a way it's essential. So, yeah.
Just to the point of how structure is not just only helps expression, but it can even broaden expression. So I saw this experiment where it's about language, and you have people who speak Russian or some of these other languages that have more defined words for different colors of red or different colors of blue, and those people can identify those colors. Like the people who don't speak those languages, their brains don't even identify those colors. Or those who have that structure, it actually affects their way they can even observe those things in this world.
Yeah, this is a famous point. It's either Fahrenheit 451 or 1984, where they changed the language to dull down, so people don't even have the words to be able to go against the government. Yes.
Okay, so I read, I think it's called The Only Dance There Is by Ram Dass in 2021. It was on my sister's bookshelf. I was at her house today, and it jumped back out at me. And I had annotated the whole thing, but Krishna consciousness was not a part of my life. And he was talking about Ram's story and how his name, Ram Das, translates to servant of God. So my question for you is, with the significance of language and names and words, how does one find or pick their spiritual name, or in the tradition of the Vedas come to that relationship? And then another kind of random question, but I guess about spiritual expression that I've always been curious about is, where does the tradition of the shaved head with the hair in the back, what does that mean, or where does it come from?
Okay. Two nice questions. So the first question, you were mentioning Ram Das, and I believe his guru is Neem Karoli Baba. And how it works in the Vedas, people can assign their own name, and generally it's something to do with servants of God, because according to the Vedas, that's our, we have bodies, we have minds, we have intelligence, but we are the soul, which is the individual conscious unit of our experience. And that soul is a part and parcel of the super soul. And so by nature, it's in a relationship of infinite and infinitesimal. So we're infinitesimal and God is infinite. So therefore we are the servant. And so generally, when you take more and more seriously your spiritual life, the name will come at the time of diksha or initiation. And so that's when you formally accept a spiritual teacher, and they'll usually between some sort of dialogue, knowing you, give you a suitable name. Sometimes it'll, my name when I was born was Noah. So then when I got initiated, my spiritual master gave me, he asked, do I want a name about Lord Chaitanya, about Lord Ram, about Lord Krishna? And I said Lord Chaitanya. So he gave me a name, Natabar Gauranga Das, so it started with N. And that's generally, or they can look at your astrology chart to find which letter is like suited to you if they want to really be technical, but that's generally how it works. And as for the second question, you were asking about what's up with the shaved head, what's up with the funny ponytail on the back, and that the shaved head, it's one representation. I'm in the renounced order of life. I'm wearing orange dress, which it says in the Bhagavatam, orange, and the colors of fire is the cloth for the renunciate. And that means that the renunciate is living a life of purification. Like if you want to get, make pure steel, you need a very hot fire. Or an easier example, if you get butter, who here has ever made ghee? So do you know what ghee is?
Clarified butter.
Clarified butter? Yeah, so if you take butter and you put it on a pan and you heat it up, eventually it'll start boiling, and then the water will all come off, and those butter solids will just separate, and it'll eventually become ghee, or pure clarified butter, which is like much easier to cook with on high heat, and it's used a lot in we use a lot of ghee to cook our stuff here. So that purification is from the fire. So generally it represents you're living a life where you're purposely doing things to help purify things. And so where a shaving of their head is one thing. It helps maintain cleanliness. If I'm taking a shower, I used to have longer hair and I'd shampoo and condition it all the time, and when you get out it takes longer to dry. So it's just practical. Like you'll see monks and anything, Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, whatever different kind of monks, they'll have shaved heads. And then specifically this sika in the back, this is called a sika, Sikha, shika. And so that covers the Brahma Randra, which is like when you're born, you have a soft spot on your head, and it's like a very kind of sensitive, more spiritual spot. And so you're cutting all your hair besides the hair around the spiritual spot. It's kind of represented, you want to just focus on spiritual life, and all the other hair represents your material, what you're trying to do materially. And so it's also representative. If someone sees that you have a sika, immediately they know that, this is someone that's following the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. This is someone that's a Vaishnava. This is someone, we also wear tilaka, the markings on the body. And if someone sees that, they can know which specific school of philosophy do they follow. Because the Vedas are very inclusive and ecumenical. Like if you're looking at a diamond, from many different angles, you can see many different things. So the Vedas look at reality, or they look at God, and you can worship God and still be validly worshiping God from many different points of view. It just depends on what you want in your relationship with God, and that's a very deep science. And so as Vaishnavas, that's our main thing, is we want to connect with Krishna. We want to connect with Krishna in love. Mainly it's the love that the residents of Vraj have. And so if you come here, you can hear more about that love. But that's the essential reason how we get names and why we shave and have this. And so Krishna says, always think of me, become devoted to me, offer obeisances, and dedicate your mind and body to me, you'll certainly come to me. That's what he says in the end of chapter 9. And that transcends all kind of organized religion. But it's always good to have some sort of organization to help cultivate that. So that's what we're doing here. There could be any unlimited number of kinds of organizations of religion. And we're just like a specific branch trying to achieve that goal, to love God. And so, let's see, what other excuses do I have? We went through, I don't have the time. We went through, I prefer to practically do something. And we went through well, I'm not experiencing God. And we just went through, well, I don't want to join a organized religion. I just want to, I'm spiritual but not religious. And so Krishna addresses all those in the Bhagavad Gita. He addresses a lot more. I got this knowledge from a book by a devotee named Keshava Swami, and he did a whole super duper study of the Bhagavad Gita, and there he gives 18 reasons for the 18 chapters why people may give an excuse not to be determined, not to go and practice their spiritual life. But just like the sparrow, Krishna's responses can help us not let our excuses stop us. Like I said, if you're good at making excuses, then you'll never be good at anything else. And so, I don't know if devotees want to, or all of y'all want to maybe talk about more questions or say a point that you liked.
Actually, I have a question.
Sure.
It's based on I was wondering about the deity structure in Hinduism. You keep referring to God as Krishna, as sort of like this one consciousness, and then, but you also have these other deities. So,
yeah,
are these deities like aspects of God, or like they're other?
Yeah.
gods,
So,
what exactly are they?
so in the Bhagavatam, which is like one of our main books, it says that the learned transcendentalists see the absolute truth in different ways. Some see it. What's that?
Brahmanidas, but what is the first line? Brahmayeti parameti bhagavaneti shabdyate. Forget the first line.
Okay. Learned translate. They call this non-dual substance. So these are all three different aspects of the same thing. So there's Brahman, there's Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So in translation, Brahman is like God's energy, so to speak. It's all pervasive. Everything's made above it. It's like connecting everything, and that's called Brahman. And when people go into deep meditation, this is the first level of their realization. When they're stripped away of all material designations, this is what they realize. Then, and it's an example of like everyone who took the subway to come here. Yeah, New York. So when you're on the subway platform, first you'll hear the subway and you'll see the light, but you can't make anything out. So that's kind of like realizing the Brahman aspect of the subway, the Brahman aspect of God, of the absolute truth. Then, finally, you start to come and you can make out some features. It's actually two headlights, and there's a conductor and a few windows, and it's like coming by, and you can see all the cars, and you can start to know it. And that's the secondary aspect. When some yogis, when they quiet their consciousness enough, they realize that there's another more supreme consciousness than them. Not just this all-pervasive energy, but there's actually a supreme consciousness that they're connecting with. And that's realization of Paramatma, which we're called Atma, soul, and Paramatma is, in English, super soul. And so that's like when you see the train. And then there are those who, through their cultivation of love, directly associate with the Paramatma. Not rather than just experience the Paramatma's presence, they actually have relationship, or what's called rasa, or mellow, and that's called Bhagavan realization, where realizing the personality of Godhead. And that's like when you get on the train, and then you see everyone on the train, you're talking with them, maybe they're, I don't know, people in New York on the train are sometimes not the best to talk to. Maybe that's not the best example to give of realizing Bhagavan, but it's an actual like personal experience now. It's you and all the other people. Maybe they're asking you to get out of the way, or maybe they smell really good. or maybe they smell really bad. And so with the personal relationship with Bhagavan, like in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna realizes the impersonal aspect of Krishna, and then he realizes the Paramatma, but then he says, now I want to see that two-handed form. And actually, the two-handed form is the deepest form of realization. Because just like that train contains all the other aspects of the light and being able to see the outside and everyone inside, I guess you could say Bhagavan's like meeting the conductor of the train. That's probably more apt. Or another example, like if you're in a sunny room, the sun rays come into your room, and you could say, oh, the sun is here. But it's not really the full manifestation of the sun, where if you were like somehow an astronaut and slingshotted like right next to the sun, that's a much different realization of the sun. Even comparatively, if we somehow give you a mystical fire body and you're able to like walk around on the sun and there's other fiery people there and you can talk to them, that's a much different realization of the sun. So these are the different levels. And so our deities, if you're asking about our specific deities like upstairs, of course we've got Radha and Govinda. That's Krishna and Krishna's energy in Vraj, which Vraj is like the pure blissful realm of their pastimes. So that's like one person said, when I saw all the different gods of Hinduism, I realized that Krishna was the highest because everyone else is doing something, but he's the only one that's just doing nothing and just enjoying. And so that's Radha and Govinda. And then we have the smaller deities, Gaur Nitai. So Gauranga is Radha and Krishna. Basically, Krishna is the supreme beloved, and Radharani is the supreme lover. And if you're the supreme beloved, it's pretty, like imagine if any of you were like, anyone's been loved by someone? Yeah. It's nice, right? It's nice to be loved by someone. But Krishna was realizing that Radharani, as in the position of a lover of him, was experiencing more bliss than he was. That somehow, even though he was the recipient of all kinds of love, that his experience was less. So he wanted to, in his aspect, to experience what it feels like to be the lover rather than the beloved. That is Lord Chaitanya. In other words, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna with the mood or the sentiment of Radha. And then Nitai is similarly Krishna's first expansion, which is Balaram. And so there's no difference between Krishna and Balaram besides that one is white and one is blue, or that one is, you could say, Krishna is like if you get a candle and you light another candle, they're both the same candle with the same amount of light, but one is this candle you lit second, one is the candle you lit first, ontologically. So that's Gaur Nitai. And then you have Jagannath. That's the smiley face, the three smiley faces. And they are Krishna and Balaram. Yeah, I'll just finish this really quick. We're going over time. And then we'll have a nice lunch coming. And Subhadra. So they're God completely experiencing the ecstasy of God's pastimes. And so they become very happy when they're hearing about their pastimes, basically. That's why they look so happy. So I hope that explains a little bit. And thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for your nice discussions, nice questions. And now we have some nice prasadam, right? Or we're going to do a kirtan?
Yeah, we do kirtan.
We're going to do a little bit more kirtan.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Natabar, for doing.
Well, I thank you all because it gave me an excuse to have to study a little bit and have to